From the corporate world to professional bodies, and from academy to politics, the use of titles by Africans is prominent in formal settings. In this session, the court will explore some fascinating ways in which titles are used in different formal settings. Your Honor, the jury count is intact. 6 persons as we had as session 1. All of them ready. We have 3 expert witnesses, all present and seated. Lola from Abuja, Adongo from Nairobi and Ali from Dar es Salaam. This court will now be in session. Judge Abba Asante, presiding.
Expert Ellie, please.
Your Honor, the use of titles is very noticeable in formal settings. Many people wear their formal titles on their sleeves, and they take offense if they are not addressed appropriately. Typically, standard titles would include Mr., Miss, Mrs., or Doctor, and so on. Those are the titles we are asked to check when we fill forms. These days, such standard titles seem too ordinary for many people. They don't project our social prominence or achievement enough. So, starting in Nigeria, professional bodies had an idea. They started using unique titles that make their members stand out. Professionals in Ghana and elsewhere took the cue and followed suit. Today, lawyers use either bar or lawyer as formal titles in front of their names. Engineers use ENG in front of theirs. Architects use ARC. Pharmacists have farm. And quantity surveyors have serve, and so on. These titles appear on business cards and are used in formal communications. I know. It sounds awkward or comical, Your Honor. But people actually prefix these titles to their names in place of the ordinary Mr., Miss, or Mrs. French-speaking African countries are no different. In Cameroon, you won't go very far if you go about addressing people with the simple Mr. or Miss. It is always Mr. Accountant, Mr. Engineer, Mr. Architect, Mr. Dean, and so on. The corporate world is awash with plenty executives. The folks who attend to you in the banking hall are personal banking executives. The former admin staff are now front desk executives or customer relations executives. Except, none of these executives get paid executive salaries. Our schools and universities are not spared. Our littlest ones are always pupils. The older learners are students. You don't mistake one for the other? Leaders of student organizations are known for their grandiose titles, especially the title of president. In Ghana, during meetings with higher-ups in government, student leaders insisted on being addressed as president of this organization and president of that organization. You know things are getting off the rails with titles when the office of the real president has to issue a public statement to advise everyone. There is only one president in Ghana. In Africa, people with big titles introduce themselves with their titles, like, "Hello, I'm Dr. Samti." Or, "Hello, I'm Professor Meriti." In our universities, it is a taboo to address a professor as doctor, even though the professor has a doctorate. The reason is, the rank of professor is a heavyweight title. The lucky few in these ranks are revered on levels at par with the gods. When people don't have one of those big titles in front of their names, they line up chains of degrees and certifications after their names to make a big statement. Students with pending licensure or graduation cannot wait. They append to their names, awaiting results. For example, John Doe, MA, awaiting results. Or Jane Doe, ACCA, Level 3, awaiting results. Titles and designations are no joke. We don't only address people with grand titles. In our companies and organizations, we replace the real names of top executives with their titles and designations. So common titles like MD, CEO, ED, VC, or VP, etc., become names in their own right. And of course, there is the venerable doc and professor. In regular and formal conversation, you hear, MD wants us to order new supplies. Good morning, doc. ED's car needs to be washed. Prof, can we send this in the morning? Real names evaporate. Grand titles and designations take their place. That is Africa. In African countries, marriage matters. And the marriage title of Mrs. is very, very crucial. It doesn't matter that a woman has outstanding credentials in her own right, and many do. If a married woman is a doctor, she uses the title Dr. Mrs. If she is a reverend minister, she goes by Reverend Mrs. Even if she has the venerable professorial rank, she is still Professor Mrs. You never leave out the Mrs., and you never address a married woman as Miss. Our tireless feminists ought to be taking notes. We address unmarried young women as Miss, and they appreciate it. No problem. Here is the problem. How do you address a mature woman who is unmarried? In Africa, we think every woman of marriage age must be married, earning the right to be Mrs. We make assumptions about mature women who are not married, and we judge them. Therefore, we find it awkward addressing an unmarried mature woman as Miss. We think it puts such women in the same category as much younger women. So, we found a way around this. We address such women as Madam. We think Madam Linda Mensah is more dignified than a mere Miss Linda Mensah. And that too is Africa for you. Thank you, Your Honor.
When we return, expert Adongo will address the court on the use of titles in religious settings. Join us for part 3 of the title trophy syndrome in Africa. Subscribe to our channel to get notified of newer episodes of Court Rise. Like and share the fun and excitement with others. This court will now rise.